This Civic Media podcast is sponsored by UW Organ and Tissue Donation. Organ donations are desperately needed, and now is the right time to become an organ donor. Talk to your family. Get the dot. Save lives. Go to heroicdeed.com.
November 23rd, 2024. If it's 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's time for This Week in Waukesha. I'm your host, Downtown Donnie Brown, coming to you live and local from the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown here in the WAUK studios in Radio Park on Victory Avenue. I am joined by the mighty Max Martinson on the board. Max, how are you this morning?
I'm a little tired, but I got my last major project of the semester finished up yesterday, so...
That's fantastic. And was that last major project what we talked about on the show with the letters to Santa?
No, so that's technically the last project that I have, but it's the last major one for MATC now. So.
Sounds good. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you, sir.
No more academic stress until after Thanksgiving holiday, so you can relax. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of more projects. We still have a couple of final exams as well, but in terms of multi-week projects going on, that'll be the last one. So
sounds great. Well, terrific. And my guest of honor this morning is my friend and neighbor Ron Gulotta, the interim dean at UWM-Waukesha. Ron, how are you this morning?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. And you sound great. So terrific. And Ron actually has quite a crew of guests that'll be talking about Corby's last call that'll take place on Thursday, May 22nd of 2025. But they want to promote this, and they're also looking for people to participate and as well as share memories about the 58-year history of this university here in Waukesha. We'll be acting locally, thinking globally, with talking about a recycling project in Louisville, a Kansas farmer calling for a food revolution, and one way we can truly make America great again through farming. And then we're going to honor victims of the Waukesha Christmas Parade here on the third anniversary and the new memorial dedication at Greedy Park that took place last Thursday, right at the moment of when the attack started 3 years ago, and the whole ceremony giving more proof to our motto, Waukesha Strong. And then the Carol Minute will honor all conference honors from the Pioneer football team, who ended the season by taking the Old Musket back from Carthage with a 27-7 victory, and so much more city news throughout the show. Excuse me. So, but of course, we're gonna start with the main event here. The inspiration for today's show came right across the street from me in our beloved Banting Park, and that again is my friend and neighbor Ron Gulotta, who's been an academician with the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee at Waukesha for the past 20-plus years. And this past year was named interim dean, the same year that the school announced that they will be closing their doors in 2025 after 58 years. And while the doors may be closing, the legacy and the several lifetimes of happy memories and the impact on our community will continue to live on, and Ron is here to tell us about that, especially with the closing event, Corby's last call. Ron, can you tell us who you have recruited to join our conversation this morning? I've all the names here, but
to do so.
Great, go ahead.
So I'm joined here in our boardroom on campus with Margaret Millspaw, who is a former student and a former employee here at UW-Waukesha. And I'm also joined by Ann Mitchell-Moore, who began her career here at UW-Waukesha and went on to become one of our instructors in communications and still is today. So those are my two guests with me here in the room.
Terrific. Happy to have you here. And I know we'll have some callers from, I guess, your team, for lack of a better term, throughout the show, and really, really excited to hear from them later on. So, but I guess go ahead, Ron. You're about to say something.
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let's start with the main event, why we're here, and what and Corby's last call. Go ahead, Ron. Take it away.
So, as you said in the context, the Waukesha campus is on the hill here is closing in May, June of this year. And our last class will finish out in the spring semester at the end of May. As we close this campus, we thought it would be appropriate to honor the 58 years of history here up on the hill. And so we were looking for a way to do that, have a big final event. And as we bantered around a number of possibilities, we wanted to have something that invited the community to come back, sort of like a grand homecoming. And of course, something like that needs a name. So we came up with Corby's Last Roar. Corby was our mascot for our athletic teams for quite some time. We're not sure how far back Corby goes. We're still digging on that history, but Corby was our mascot until we joined with UWM, and then our athletics ended because UWM is a Division I institution in sports. So Corby has been hanging out in a closet, hanging out around campus for the past 5 years, 7 years now. And we're going to bring Corby back out of retirement for one last roar.
And I apologize if I missed this, Ron. What Corby is it a cougar or a panther,
Corby's
right?
a cougar.
Okay, cougar. Okay, all right. Because UWM's the Panthers, and so you guys are the Cougars.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Fantastic.
Right.
So, is that why, are cougars and panthers relate? Are they part of the feline species? Is that why they did it, or
Sure.
just Waukesha wanted their own branded, identity for their teams?
Waukesha was separate from the four-year institutions such as UWM and UW-Madison and all. We were part of the UW colleges, and then before that, we originally started as an extension of Madison and the extension program as UW centers across the state.
Neat. Wow, that's terrific. And so, and you've been with the university, you said it was more than, I said more than 20 years, but what was the exact number?
So I joined the UW colleges. My first campus was Sheboygan for 1 year back in 2000. So I've been with UW colleges since 2000.
Okay. Terrific. And so the event's a long way off, and we're glad to have you here because it sounds like there's an opportunity. What do we currently have in the program in terms of what people could expect at the event?
So we're going to focus mostly on the history and encourage folks to gather and share with one another, meet up with old friends, walk the halls and feel their presence and their history here. So mostly it'll be an open house. People will be welcome to come in, walk through the halls, see displays. We'll have a number of different historical displays about different aspects of the campus life and history over its 58 years. And we're still putting together a few things. We're hoping to have just a short little commemoration program, but nothing too terribly long, because we don't really want that to be the main focus for the day. We just want people to come back, come home to UW-Waukesha one last time. We are holding out the possibility that we can end the day a little bit later than the schedule says. Right now, the schedule says from 4 to 8.
Can't have a party ending at 8 o'clock.
Sure. We're hoping to extend that into the dark to go out with a big bang.
Nice.
So I'll leave it at that.
So maybe some fireworks or a digital light show.
We're kind of hoping so.
Sure. Does UW, do they have is there a digital program like that? Like I know Carol.
No, not right now. But we've got partners and old friends who.
We can enlist our friends at Carroll University. They have a digital. They do a digital light show after some of the football games. That's really fun. We were at a high school game at Schneider, and it was pretty impressive. So that'll be a great way to show partnership. So, but I imagine too, with some of the programs you have, there'll be a lot of good expressions of talents and the legacy. And I'm really curious to learn more about the. How are we doing on time here, Maxie? Okay, about 3 minutes. So, but yeah, later on the show, I'd love to hear more about the Madrigal dinner that took place. It was a long time tradition. It stopped before you joined, and I know there may be some people sharing memories about that.
So I got a little history on that, but
okay,
it's just history on paper.
Sure. Okay,
experience.
But yeah,
but hopefully some callers did.
What's that?
Hopefully we can get some.
Yes. So yeah, because I'd never heard of it, and then I did a little look. It's basically a Christmas time Renaissance era dinner celebration, and people get dressed up in the Renaissance era, kind of like the Bristol Renaissance Fair, but juxtaposed into a Christmas holiday or a holiday celebration.
Yes, and it was a very large community event. It matched the campus with the greater Waukesha community. So it was a big deal.
I had some text messages coming in and say, would the university still would they have kept their doors open if they'd kept the Madrigal dinner tradition alive?
Oh, it's hard to say.
And why not? What a great. Sorry, go ahead.
The Madrigal dinners had a force behind it.
Sure.
And when he retired, the program kind of ended. So.
Sure. Yeah. No.
As many things do.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe we could whip up one for this last Christmas, this last holiday at UW-Waukesha. We could enlist some UWM-Waukesha, enlist some volunteers maybe at the last second.
Perhaps at the closing event we could.
There you go. Yeah, even better. Yes, that could be really fun too. So many great. And then we also want to touch on what's the enrollment been in recent years at UWM-Waukesha?
So our enrollment probably hit its peak in 2010. We had about 2,000 plus students on campus. In the last few years, we've declined. Coming out of the pandemic, we were down to 700 students, and this year we're around 500 students.
Okay. So, but of course, in its peak, the enrollment was much higher, and we're going to continue that conversation about the history, the peaks and valleys of UWM-Waukesha, and as well as this big celebration they're gearing up for, Corby's last call. And then next we'll be acting locally, thinking globally, and so much more here on This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 540 AM. And don't forget the Civic Media app.
Down Georgia Street Arcade, where the poor children play, gathering up charity to help them make their day. For me, I was once their age. Once I was young, but I know I had my family to fall back on. Give it up, share it out, yeah. Help who you can. I know that you can. Talk about it. Oh, give it up.
You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
We're back on This Week in Waukesha, and my tradition continues with Waukesha's favorite son introducing the second segment. That's, of course, Les Paul and Mary Ford with The World is Waiting for the Sunrise. And here in Radio Park, I can't look out any window, so I don't know if the sun has arrived yet, but we certainly feel it here on the show here, especially when I get a chance to connect with my neighbor and friend, Ron Gulotta, interim professor at UWM at Waukesha, talking about Corby's last call. But first, acting locally, thinking globally. I got 3 segments here, and I'm going to fly through them so I can make time for Ron and his crew here. Special thanks to the Spring City Garden Club in Waukesha for transforming the downtown planters for winter. Take a look at that. Great effort. And it brings up a bigger issue to me about gardening and farming and really the missed opportunities on again, making, this you hear this making America great again, and what is it from the past that was good. And one thing was mental health, nutrition, neighborliness versus greed, soulfulness, and more. Gail Fuller, a Kansas farmer, spoke at the Kansas Farmers Union Conference this week. He and his partner, Lynette Miller, have a message for agriculture. It's firm, serious, and it's loving. If we just heal the land but ignore the people, we will fail. The good news is we can succeed. I see a world with no hunger, a world where wealth is measured not by how much you make or how much you have, rather by how much you give. A world with no money, or at least money as we know it today. True wealth can't be stored in a bank, Gail said, speaking to a room packed with farmers, ranchers, and people who care about agriculture. The true wealth is in the air, the water, the soil. It's biological capital. I see a world where my grandchildren are allowed to learn but aren't educated, not made to fit into the same mold as all the other children. In this world, I don't have to buy my way into heaven, and all are welcome at the table. He said these new and or enlightened stewards are those who learn that we must farm in a way that promotes life, not death. We could be killing the plant that will cure cancer, he said, talking about agriculture that is too chemical dependent and not in tune with the wisdom inherent in nature. The ag landscape has changed. Fuller added, pointing out these statistics. In 1800, 50% of Americans were farmers. In 1945, Americans were growing 45% of their own food in backyard gardens. In 2020, Americans grew 1% of their food. Food security is national security. Are we exposing ourselves to dangerous vulnerabilities if we impart an increasing amount of the real food we eat? You bet we are, he stressed. From growing beef and other livestock to fresh vegetables and more, we are lending ourselves to the mercy of those who actually are producing real food. And we are exposing ourselves to a nutritional deficit as well. Fuller also shared this quote by Jerry Brunetti. We have a crisis in the USA, a health crisis. A health crisis is an ag crisis. We can fix the health crisis. We can't fix the health crisis until we fix the ag crisis. Fuller went on, Americans have the lowest health rating in the developed world thanks to this industrial processed diet and the fact that we have the most expensive healthcare system in the world, even though it ranks 37th in terms of quality. Gail and Lynette, through their words and actions, are not just complaining about the issues, they are actively addressing them. The couple's vision at Circle 7 by Fuller Farms is growing direct market wholesome food for their community and also providing a place of healing and inspiration for people. And I highly encourage everyone to check out their site, fullerfieldschool.com, FULLERFIELD school.com. And yes, they're all the way out in Kansas, but in a city like Waukesha that still has an agrarian tradition, it certainly has the real estate, but it also has good people, that I think there are opportunities for us to take back some of our own farming, growing our own food, and living healthier. And more on this. And then we're also going to switch to another. Now we're going to go to Louisville, Kentucky, where I was this week for a program called Revinylize, a new vinyl siding recycling collaborative that started in Northeast Ohio and has spread to Toronto, to Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and now Louisville. And to celebrate the launch there, the Revinylize had resided a house, a community house for people in recovery from addiction and transitioning into, so we say, normal life. And they did a free residing job. And a case study and a video commenced, and it demonstrated how everything being teared off, what most of us would call scrap, is gold. They put it in recycling bins, not dumpsters, but recycling bins, where distributors then deliver it to a recycling facility. And they grind it all up, and they send it off to different companies to make new products, including vinyl siding, other polymeric exteriors, electrical conduit, and also basically creating new economies or just opportunities. They're saving tons of money for the contractors who no longer have to pay to have that material removed. They're diverting it from the landfill. And that's a double whammy when you're throwing recyclable materials into the landfill. That is on a sustainability scorecard. That's a double whammy. And then the siding going back onto that house is siding made from recycled polymers. And so really exciting. You don't when you think of vinyl siding, you think of plastic. Some think of it as cheap plastic, but it is a high performance product, but it's also highly sustainable, and it's one of the most recyclable products out there. So it's great to see. You talk to these people that were part of that value chain in residing this house, and there hadn't been an opportunity like that in their many years of home remodeling to recycle products in that regard. And again, I think the Waukesha area, a lot of homes are made with and remodeled with vinyl siding. That's something we should take a harder look at. Our city government, our local contractors, our recycling facilities, and see what possibilities exist. And then finally, enacting locally, thinking globally. On Thursday, there was a special ceremony at Greedy Park dedicating, while honoring the third anniversary, or remembering those that we had lost and those who were victimized by the Christmas parade attack, and also dedicating the new memorial at Greedy Park, which is beautiful, and I can't wait to see it for myself. I missed it because I was attending my daughter's basketball game, and a victory for the JV team over at Milwaukee Lutheran. But I certainly, someone that participated in that parade and was on the city council then, certainly keeping all of those in our hearts. And, as we head into Thanksgiving, we're so grateful for what is truly Waukesha Strong. So many people coming together and commemorating a tragedy and bringing some light from that event as we move forward. How are we doing on time here, Maxie? About 2 minutes. Sounds great. So returning to my main guest, who've been very patient here, Ron Gulotta and his team. And I guess I got to start by saying sorry and offering my condolences, because this institution's been a part of your life. And, what are the emotions now as you're transitioning to?
Obviously the emotions are rather raw for a lot of folks, and a great deal of uncertainty for many of my fellow faculty members who are having, at whatever age, to, as many people do have to do, reinvent themselves and find new places of employment, many cases new lines of employment. For myself, I was actually supposed to retire last June and got called out of retirement for one more year to help with the campus closing. So I'll be looking forward to that. So I have a very different spin on it.
Sounds great. Well, we're going to hear more about that spin and so much more, especially with Corby's last call, as well as local news and events here on This Week in Waukesha on WAUK, 540 AM, and the Civic Media app.
Dear one, the world.
You're an organ donor, right? Well, here's a tragic fact. Approximately 20 people die each day waiting for precious donated organs. You could make a life-saving decision simply by getting that important dot on your driver's license. That little dot shows those who need to know that you've made a decision to donate organs at a critical time. Go to heroicdeed.com to learn more about the importance of organ donation and how you can make your wishes known. Talk to your family. Get the dot. Save lives. heroicdeed.com.
Jedi Order and the Republic have fallen. With the dark shadow of the Empire rising to take their place. This message is a warning and a reminder for any surviving Jedi. Trust in the Force. Do not return to the temple. That time has passed. And our future is uncertain. We will each be challenged. Our trust, our faith, our friendships. But we must persevere. And in time, a new hope will emerge.
You're listening to This Week in Waukesha with your host, Don Brown, here on WAUK, 540 AM, and the Civic Media app. If you haven't downloaded the app already, do so. Then you can take This Week in Waukesha and all the great WAUK and civic media programming wherever you go. And with over 20 stations around the state, there's something for everybody, especially as you're traveling. And that was a little different for beginning for me. Instead of music, I played what's been really trending on social media, and it's that scene from Max should probably know better, the movie that precedes in the chronology Star Wars: A New Hope, with Obi-Wan Kenobi talking about the fall of the Empire. And with those of us who we're not on the winning team in this past election, it's very much how we feel. And it definitely, hearing that tugs at the heartstrings, and that hope continues. But, I talked about remembering the Waukesha Parade tragedy. And then, of course, we're here with Ron Gulotta and his team talking about the fall of UWM-Waukesha. A lot of sadness and reason for sadness. But then we're also approaching the Thanksgiving season, and how we temper all that is important. And we have our first caller. Is that correct, Max? Who's been very patient?
Yeah, we do.
Cool. And go, what's the caller's name again?
It's on here. It says Michael.
Michael. Okay, Michael. Hello? Hello, are you there?
Oh, hi. This is Sue Kalinka.
Oh, Sue, yes.
Am I the first caller?
You're the first caller. Yeah, Ron's laughing. Yeah, go ahead,
Sure.
Sue. Sorry about that. It said Michael on the phone.
Right. Hello. Welcome. Or good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
just calling in. I've worked at UWM-Waukesha now for 20 plus years, along with Ron and Ann and Margaret, and just wanted to call in and tell maybe a memory or two of
Please.
what has impacted me. So several years ago, we have what's called a study day, and it's a day between our final exams and our last day of classes. And we noticed, we just didn't have a ton of students coming for study day, and therefore we didn't have a ton of faculty coming to help students. And it was just this, pretty quiet day on campus. And we really wanted to make a difference and change that, because we knew that our students would be best served by coming to campus, studying in the library, being with their faculty, that sort of thing. So a core group of dedicated faculty decided to what they coined Pancake Day, and we serve, and it's now been going on for decades, pancakes on study day for, could be 10, 20, 100 students. How many ever show up that day? They have, a nice breakfast and, faculty and staff there to greet them. Oftentimes on a Friday when they didn't need to be on campus, but sometimes even on a Saturday. And yet our students came back, and then they spent the day. And we really knew that was an important way for them to get their studying off the ground.
That's great. I love that. So, and Sue, you'll be pleased to know you're actually the first to be able to speak, and that's on me, not on that. We have yet to hear from Margaret and Ann, who are, shall we say, in studio with Ron over there at UWM-Waukesha. Any comments on Pancake Day from your gallery, Ron, or other similar memories?
Yeah, I remember. Well, I'm a former actually student as well.
Is this Ann?
This is Margaret.
Margaret, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Margaret.
Yep. And so, I was a student, but Pancake Day wasn't there when I was a student. It came about when I returned to be the campus recruiter. And what she didn't mention is, a lot of what they served actually was brought in by the faculty and staff.
Nice.
So it wasn't something that was funded by the campus. It was something that the faculty and staff really came together to do and to really, again, serve the students. And that's the feel that you get when you're here on campus with others. And I think this last roar for Corby, I think that's what we really want to come together and let those people support one another and, take advantage of memories and the times that they had together, the good feelings they had on campus. So many different things come to mind, but yeah, that pancake breakfast, just one more way the faculty really did support, and those kind of things really, they really stand out. So many things like that.
So even though the Corby's Last Roar starts late in the afternoon at 4:00, do you envision pancakes being part of the food offerings? To wax sentimental, or we could use some volunteers, maybe. Yeah, a pancake team.
Yes. And that is, indeed how we did those pancake breakfasts in the morning. It was all volunteers, people showing up to set up and cook the pancakes for the students, cook them to order.
Wow.
So those were fun. I've
Sure.
been doing the pancake breakfast. How long has that been going on, Sue?
Well, it seems like it's been at least 10 or 15 years. But yeah, I think, Ron, you were one of the first pancake flippers in the group.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
So,
any other memories to share, Sue, that come to mind?
Well, I think another big impact that we had on our students was this idea of a distinguished lecture series. And so when I started there in 2000, I came into a situation in student life where they had booked an outstanding speaker. Some students and staff had found, her name was Judy Shepard, and she was the mother of Matthew Shepard, and she was coming to speak to the campus. And that was outstanding. We had our theater held 300 people, and I had a waiting list. And so we just knew that we made quite an impact. And so the student government actually took it upon themselves to make an annual series. And their comment to me, if I can recall it from 20 plus years ago, was something along the lines of, we want folks to know that we are a university that brings in national speakers.
Yeah.
This isn't an extension of high school. This is something where, someone can impact our students, but on a smaller scale. Our theater only held 300, so you really felt like you were part of a smaller kind of an audience. And so they funded it, and we have had a distinguished lecture every year since. A couple years when we, as Ron mentioned, enrollment was bigger, we had a couple of distinguished lectures, but in addition to Judy Shepard, I think the one that made the most impact on me when we were able to bring in Dr. Temple Grandin, who is just a very knowledgeable person in her field of animal husbandry, but also she's just one of the strongest, if not the strongest, advocate for autism awareness and working with young adults with autism.
Neat.
And so that made a huge impact. Just most recently we brought in, we had a reading circle with our students, but they were able to read a book, and then have reading circles, not just with fellow students, but faculty, staff, community members, all, volunteer, not part of a course. They did this on their own, and they had these reading circles, and then we were able to bring in the author, who was Darren Bell. And so that was just our kind of last in terms of like a lecture, and then we'll continue in our spring with our big distinguished lecture again. So being able to bring in those national speakers, sometimes our experts were, right next door. They were from UW-Madison or UW-Milwaukee. Sometimes they were from out of the state. It depended on who the committee chose. But in addition to coming to that evening lecture, we gave students the opportunity, they would have a classroom visit. So could you imagine, being in a classroom of 25 or 30 and having Dr. Temple Grandin being your guest speaker for that class session, right? Or, we would have either a small dinner or a small reception, and the students can just go right up to these folks that they'd only read about in their textbooks. So I think that has been something else that's been a huge source of pride, being that it was, originally a student initiative.
Yeah.
So that was also, it's going to be one of those great memories that I will take once we close down the campus.
I really appreciate you sharing that, Sue, and that really is a great, talk about a legacy or a unique selling point, especially for those that elect to go to college locally, knowing that you have that, you can literally touch these great personalities or these national, this distinguished speaker series. And the fact that the students drove it. We were talking earlier about the Madrigal dinner, the Renaissance era Christmas dinner. And it reminds me of a favorite high school teacher who used to say during the Renaissance, it was the students that were really driving the hunger for education. They would force the professors to not, cut the class early or to even extend the class if there was, good content being shared. And the idea and the whole idea of the pancake breakfast with the faculty putting their own resources into it. And then now with the distinguished speaker series with the students really driving it and demanding more and helping to fund it. Those are really some great marks on the college's legacy that I would imagine not very many people, even here in Waukesha, knew about or know about.
Right.
Certainly, I would expect a lot of people around Waukesha who've been here for decades will remember the Madrigal dinners. That it was a very big community event. So perhaps a caller out there can
yes, please, if you have a memory,
share a story with us.
Sure. Now I know and we haven't heard from Ann yet. Ann, do you have a memory to share? Ann Mitchell-Moore?
I have a bunch of them. So I started out here as a student way back in 1985. I played basketball here for 2 years.
Nice.
I met my husband here. Then I transferred down to UWM and finished up all of my education down there. So I have the perspective of being a student, and then I started teaching here in 1998. So I've been teaching here ever since. And I really enjoy going back and watching my students play basketball and being a part of that and watching the plays. And my husband and I brought our kids here to games and also to plays as well. So it was a really great meeting place.
Sure.
For lots of things going on. So I have a unique perspective from a student. Actually, our son also was a student here a couple of years ago.
Oh, neat.
He just had a Friendsgiving with people that he went to UW-Waukesha with. And my core friends are still from this group. So
oh, wow.
It was a huge part of my life. So it's sad to see that it's gone.
I can only imagine to begin. I can't even begin to feel your pain. Max, how are we doing on time? About minute left. So Margaret's got, Ann Mitchell-Moore has more memories to share, and I know Margaret's also, she's continuing to work in academia at is it Madison College now, or Madison Area Technical College? I forget what they call it now.
I'm currently at Madison College.
Okay.
Yeah, I work in the tech services area,
Awesome.
But from the recruitment side. Yeah.
We're going to talk more about that, the yin and yang for you, as well as hearing more from Interim Dean Ron Gulotta, and so much more here This Week in Waukesha on WAUK, 540 AM and the Civic Media app.
Everybody, ain't you heard of my school? It's #1 in the state. Hey, take it away. Get so be true to your school. For football and track, I'm proud to wear it now when I cruise around the other parts of the town. I got my decal and bag, so be true to your school, just like you would to your girl. Be true to your school, let your colors fly. Be true to your school. Do it again, we like it.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
We'll be jacked up on the football game and I'll be ready to fight. We're gonna smash it now. My girl will be working on her pom-poms now, and she'll be yelling tonight. So be true to your school. Just like
Hey, we're back on This Week in Waukesha. And who could forget the Beach Boys classic, Be True to Your School? I was upset because I picked out a version that skipped the little marching band interlude there. I like the original Beach Boy, because I just had a lot of feeling and a lot of school spirit in it without the marching band impact. But I do appreciate there, as you hear the song, they threw a little On Wisconsin riff, the Badgers fight song in there. And so I do appreciate that. Nice work on that, Mighty Max Martinson. And obviously a very fitting song for my guests, Ron Gulotta, Margaret Millspaw, and Ann Mitchell-Moore. And I believe it was Ann had talked about how she went to school here, met her husband here, continued to return to UWM-Waukesha for for basketball games. She played basketball there, and then she mentioned, I believe, her son had also gone to school there, and so two generations of tradition and fond memories and great learning experiences. And so this has to be very. So that song goes out to all of you and the memories you share. And I wanted to ask Margaret, who's now, because I believe you went to school there and then you went to teach there. Now you're at Madison College, which is, as I understand, is a thriving, 2-year college. Has great enrollment, excellent programs. I've had clients that have done work with them on the recruiting side and the tech side, and so many great. It's got to be kind of a mixed bag for you, right?
It is. I got my bug for education, right here at UW-Waukesha. I came as a returning adult. I was here from 2000 to 2004, and I thought I was going to go on to pharmacy school, and found a new love while I was here, and which many students do, and which is that. I mean, that's kind of one of the great things about this institution. It's very supportive of learning about all kinds of different things. Yes, education, but then life, and so many other things that come with it, and faculty and staff that are willing to share experiences and really give students a bit more, almost sometimes a part of themselves in sharing their passion for what they do, and students getting that great connection. But so then I went on to Whitewater, finished in a communications degree, and then I actually came back in wanting to do advising and registration and recruitment. So I did a little stint at UWM, and then kept passing the campus every day, and decided I needed to come back and really promote the campus, and became the campus recruiter. Loved it.
Wow.
And at the time, getting to see so many students, having the opportunity, we were just talking about those kind of special things. Sue talked about the distinguished lecture, and here you have freshmen and sophomore that are driving that. If you were on a larger campus, those students may not have had that opportunity, really getting to experience that fun stuff. So went on to continue doing recruiting here, and then moved to the central office to actually help recruitment across all 13 of the 2-year campuses, and to promote all of them, which was a great experience to see each institution in their own little community, just like our Waukesha space, and how much of an impact they made on so many students, which was really, really exciting to see. And then, once we started getting gobbled up by the larger campuses, still, hoping to keep that same theme going on, I had to look for other opportunities, and luckily enough, I was able to continue at at Madison College for really in that same kind of supporting recruitment and enrollment. And which again, that passion for that 2-year campus and supporting those students and giving them, again, that unique opportunity. Madison College is a little bit different because they're able to have those general education courses. So they do something similar, but also providing that tech side. So even more, providing more opportunity. So, hopefully, and, honestly, that's why I live in Wisconsin, is really because of the education. I came from California. My children were in grade school at the time, and really education was something solid that we were looking for, and Wisconsin stood out for us. So yeah, and it hasn't been disappointing.
Sure. And we've seen some, I guess we could say, backward trends in terms of education. Some would view the Act 10 and other developments, and there's other schools closing around the state.
Right.
Because you mentioned, is that part of that disappointment? Do we see a decline in the quality of education in the state because of these actions from the top?
I don't know about a decline necessarily. I think, I don't know, maybe we we had such a great, support for it. I think the passion is still there, and I think it is still there, but, of course we need to be aware of, the population. And, we know there was a trend in, our traditional age high school students, the population just was, not as, didn't keep growing, and we have to be, mindful of that and prepare for it.
Sure.
And maybe, we didn't plan quite as well as we should have, and or hoped that, because we always have that returning, student population as well, which I think, is a great thing. Obviously, it did me well, and I think we just, maybe we just kind of overzealous a little bit, and we
Sure.
just got a little too big, and then of course, had to pull it back.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I
don't see a decline as much as I see a little bit less flexibility. One of the beauty, as Margaret talked about, was that students could explore different majors and different ideas, and they didn't have to settle in on a major from day one. And coming to UW-Waukesha, that was a gateway to all the four-year institutions in the state. So, for example, when my brother came here, he was originally going to come here and then go down to UWM and major in computer engineering. But after spending time here and talking to instructors and taking some classes, realized that the program that he was really interested in terms of computers was actually at Whitewater.
Okay.
So he transferred to Whitewater.
Got it.
And then got
Okay.
an internship at Northwestern
Sounds good.
Mutual, and then spent his whole career there. And he never would have done that if he would have just gone to
Sorry to
UWM.
interrupt. We're going to go into our final break for the hour, but I want to continue this conversation, especially about the flexibility and This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 540 AM and the Civic Media app with our good friends from UWM at Waukesha. Do not go away. November 23rd, 2024. If it's 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's time for This Week in Waukesha, Hour 2. I'm your host, the unsinkable Don Brown, coming to you live and local from the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown here in the WAUK studios in Radio Park on Victory Avenue. And very pleased to have my neighbor and good friend from our beloved Banting Park, Ron Gulotta, Interim Dean at UWM at Waukesha. And Ron has gathered some friends of the university, both students and members of faculty. That's Margaret Millspaw, now with Madison College, and Ann Mitchell-Moore, who's the instructor of communications and theater arts there at UWM-Waukesha. And they're here to share memories about the school's 58-year history, now that it'll be closing in 2025, but also to promote Corby's Last Roar, a celebration that will take place on Thursday, May 22nd, from right now it's 4 to 8 p.m., but we're going to add an asterisk to that because Ron's going to lobby hard to maybe push that back an hour or two so that people can come and share memories and celebrate. We know there'll be food, possibly pancakes in honor of the pancake study tradition. But I'm sure there'll be some other food items. There'll be some music, some presentations. I'm sure there'll be some reference to a distinguished speaker series that they had started. That's also been a great tradition there and really helped put the college on the map. And before the break, I believe it was Ann was talking about the benefit of the flexibility that colleges like UW-Waukesha offer. That unlike the four-year experience where maybe you have to commit to a major by sophomore year, in those first in those first years at a good 2-year program like UWM-Waukesha, there's flexibility to see what you like and what you don't like, and maybe mold a more promising future. And if you don't mind continuing, or kind of even picking up where you left off, or even just doing a little recap to get people caught up, I'd really appreciate that.
Well, I think the example that I was giving was that my brother had originally decided, or thought that he had decided, that he was going to come here to save money for 2 years and then transfer to UWM, but then found out that the program that was really going to benefit him was at Whitewater. And so if he had not had that time to think, so that's what he said yesterday when I called him. He said, UW-Waukesha gave me the gift of time. He's like, at 18, who really knows exactly what they want to do with 100% certainty? Yeah. And he was able to take some classes, get those general studies out of the way. And then the cool thing was, if you got your associate's degree, in total, when you transfer to another 4-year within the system, all of your gen eds were automatically satisfied. So it gave you a leg up when you were transferring, and it was easier to slide into the program that you wanted to. So it allowed some exploration. I know myself as a student here, I changed my major 3 times before I settled. And I don't know if I would have had the luxury to do that, because I bounced from physics to art to English to communication. So if I had gone right to a 4-year institution, I might not have had the finances to be able to do that, or the time to be able to do that. So.
All excellent points. And, another thing, too, is we know where a lot of the local to your colleges have a benefit is with the relationships with local employers, and that they're actually very strong feeder programs, because the academic offerings are aligned with the vocational training. And so it's just an easy match. And was that also a benefit or one of the strong advantages of UWM-Waukesha, would you say?
I would think one of the advantages about being local and being a small school is that, as you're promoting it in other ways, it's local, it's community grown, and so it's serving a very local population that wants to stay close to home. But one of the other big advantages is, by being a small institution, we gave our students a chance to grow in ways that they couldn't grow at a larger institution. Those skills turn over rather quickly into their adult lives, and that be work or community. So they connected right away with things in their community and stayed connected over time. One of the stories that I hear often revolves around student workers, and how different the student worker experience at Waukesha has been from larger universities and institutions. Colleagues at larger institutions, I have heard for years, gripe and complain about student workers. They really don't do anything. They sit around, they collect a paycheck, and they don't do anything. And then I hear from other colleagues about our former student workers who go on to another school, and how impressed they are that our student workers are ready to step in day one and do things. They have a good work ethic, but they have a great skill about what work is about, and what sort of a professional attitude is to work. So I think we give that experience as well. We've also, over the years, given students, as my colleagues here in the room with me have expressed, opportunities in a wide range of things: theater, sports, music. Over the years, going back to the 60s and 70s, UW-Waukesha had its own radio station, and a strong tradition there. There was a TV studio in the building at one point. We've had very strong theater arts program, plays and musicals. From the late 2000s through up to pandemic, we had 10 straight years of great summer musicals that we did with the community. So we've given students opportunities to grow in lots of different areas.
Yeah.
And it's local. It pulls from the greater Southeast community and most broadly around Waukesha.
Sure.
And it gives people a chance to do things and to still stay at home.
Yeah. Those are all great points. I can really appreciate that. And because Margaret Millspaw, who's now with Madison College, where you're at currently, what are some of the aspects of your UWM-Waukesha experience that you see, I guess, manifest themselves on the current campus? Or what would you say, without getting in trouble with your employers, maybe missing from your student and I guess as a staff member experience?
Right. Madison College is a wonderful place, a super diverse population. It's large, though. It's big. And I think that's one of the things about the Waukesha campus. It was, even at our height, when we were a little over, 2,000 students, it still felt small and community. And, many students were able to fit in and feel comfortable. They weren't overwhelmed. Everybody was doing the same thing. They all commuted into campus, whereas, Madison College has that too. I think that gives every student coming on campus kind of, the same footing. I would, as a student when I was here, I had many students that other students with me that were traditional age, but many of them were, going out in the community, and they were working. They were, taking care of siblings. So, not so different, from myself. And, it was easy to fit in and feel comfortable. And to kind of take off on what Ron was saying about our students, we fit into the community a little bit different. Our students are here, they're working here currently while they're going to school. And I think they give back to the community like right away. Like they don't wait for that 2 years. They're transferring their skills that they're getting right away, that critical thinking, that
Very
curious nature, all of that, they're getting it right away and they're using it. So yeah, I think I love that, the 2-year campus, that's, is so grounded in my education, and to see how many people have thrived from it. And I love that it continues. And I think really the only thing, Madison College has a few like satellite campuses, and they're great because they still give some of that small community. But yeah, if you can get that really just like tight, close knit, feeling like family, just about, that's, I think, huge.
Yeah, I think that's missing from a lot of the bigger four-year schools. Now, I went to I went to Michigan State, that we'd call a small school, but I was in a program for my major. I was a dual major, and it was called James Madison College. It was a residential college within the university, where the student body was like 1,000 students. And so I had that small liberal arts college experience surrounded by a Big Ten campus, and it was great. I mean, I had classes throughout the campus, my required classes, econ and all those other things. But for my core classes, by the time I was a senior, the student teacher ratio was like 12, sometimes 6-1. So it was a really rich experience. And even in those first 2 years, it was like 25-1. Now you would have those large auditorium lectures where you'd have like 300 but those were also a different art form too. Those were also a great academic experience, especially when they were supported by these sectional classes where a teacher's assistant would lead the discussion and help answer questions and explain what was discussed in the lecture. And so again, I kind of had the best of both worlds, but I know so many stories of people that they didn't know what they wanted to do after high school, and their parents talked them into at least doing a year of junior or community college. And then they ended up sticking around 2 years, and they ended up either getting placed into a great job or going to a great four-year university. But we're going to dig deeper into some of these great memories at UWM-Waukesha, as well as talk about how people can support and participate in Corby's Last Roar on May 22nd, 2025, a celebration of UWM-Waukesha's 58 years here serving our community, and so much more. And we'll have the Carol Minute next, as well as some city news here in This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 540 AM. And don't forget the Civic Media app. Download it so you can take all the great programming anywhere you go. Give it up!
Share it out, yeah.
You're listening to This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 540 AM and the Civic Media app. And that was the band Guards with Silver Lining, a song that many of you college football fans have heard, especially when a Big Ten team is playing. They do a promotional commercial. It's an animated map of the Big Ten campuses throughout the country, and now that it's gone from coast to coast. Kind of cool. I know it's upset a lot of people, but we're going to get a lot more local with our college football discussion, and that's the Carroll University Pioneers were victorious in their season finale last Saturday with a 27-7 triumph over Carthage at the Schneid last Saturday, as I said, and taking back the old musket from the Firebirds. I was broadcasting the game last year, and it was a big upset victory for the Firebirds and a very disappointing loss for the Pios. But to their credit, some key players were not allowed to play in that game because of some rules violations. And that's the kind of guy Coach Buddha is. Does it by the book, and that's why they've had a lot of success there. It's 4 years in a row without a losing season, 6-4 in their first 2 years, 5-5 in their last 2 years, which is really, it's more of a comment on how competitive the CCIW is, very much like the WIAC. It's really one of the toughest conferences in the country. The number one team in the country the last 4 years is in the CCIW. That's North Central. And there's a couple other nationally ranked teams. And so, but they got a great thing going on there, and it's fun. After finishing the 2024 season with a 5-5 record, Carroll's football team received 5 all-conference selections Tuesday morning, as released by the CCIW. Tight end Reed Breckheimer, who had a great year offensively. Offensive lineman Kevin Whitman, one of my favorite human beings, used to work with my son at Home Depot. Another one, punter Noah Streveler, were each named CCIW first team offense, while defensive lineman Riley Staub and linebacker Will Campbell, winner of the John Anderson Award in high school, each landed on the CCIW's second team defense. So congrats to all of them. Great young men, a great program there. I wish I had more time to go deeper into their accolades, but there'll be maybe we'll have some of these guys on future shows. So, but we're going to jump to the, and also Tim Nelson, defensive lineman, was named the CCIW Respect Award, which each team gets to pick one player for the kind of just great all-around team player that they are. So congrats to Tim as well. The nation's 21st ranked women's basketball team, that's Carroll University. They were victorious again last night with an 85-34 win over Olivet. Senior All-American Olivia Rangel led all Pios with 15 points, followed by 12 from Natalie Grisius and 10 from Emily Wisner. So they advanced to 3-1 with last night's win. Their only loss came to a nail-biter last Saturday night to top-ranked UW-Whitewater. That game followed the men's game, which followed the Pios win over Carthage. So it was a very fun sports day over at the campus there at Carroll University. And, with my guests from UWM-Waukesha, Ron Gulotta, Margaret Millspaw, and Ann Mitchell-Moore, all very cool names, especially Ann Mitchell-Moore. No wonder she's in theater now. But I could see a little smoke coming out of Ron's ears. Like, where's the UWM-Waukesha minute, Don? I mean, we've known each other how many years? And yes, I've got mud on my face that we've had a great 58-year tradition. And so I think one thing I can commit to in the final weeks is we should have our own little segment for you, what's going on at UWM-Waukesha on future shows. So counting on you, Ron, and the rest of the team to give me some little bits, especially as we're planning for Corby's last roar. Let's make that a big blowout. Maybe kind of like some of those parties you saw in Animal House. Can we get a little crazy there, or is that you can't endorse that as interim dean?
Well,
although what do you have to lose? It's your last year. What are they going to do? Fire you?
Right.
So
while you're on that, I'll share with folks if they're interested. We have a tiny URL that people can go to that will give them a chance to leave their contact information so that we can keep in touch about future details. And it also gives them a chance. We're looking for people to leave us stories and pictures of their time at UW-Waukesha. So that tiny URL is tinyurl.com/Corby's Last Roar. CORBYS.
Corby with a C.
Right. C. Corby's Last Roar. Just one one long word.
Sounds great.
Easy to remember.
And hate to do this to you. Do you mind repeating that again for the benefit of our listeners?
Sure. So that's a tinyurl.com/Corby's Last Roar. CORBYSLASTROAR.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for doing that. And I do encourage everybody that has a connection, or even if you don't, I think it's something that we should all celebrate as a community, because we've all, it is fair to say, and anyone can chime in, that anyone who's lived in Waukesha has been impacted positively by what UWM-Waukesha has contributed to our community.
One of the things we've done over the years to kind of highlight some of our impact in the local community and the larger community is that we have a awarding of a distinguished or outstanding alum. And some of our outstanding alums from the past have been gone on to great things in politics, such as former county executive for Waukesha County, Paul Vrakis, who's a UW-Waukesha grad.
That's right.
Local district attorney and Wisconsin Attorney General Brad Schimmel was a distinguished alum from here. Former county executive in Madison, Kathleen Falk, was one of our first distinguished alums. And we've had distinguished alums from who've gone on to do some very spectacular things in medicine and business and a variety of other endeavors locally and nationally. We just honored one of our distinguished alums from this last year is a very important member of the team at Ladd Lake, the residential center for youth and young adults who need some help getting their lives back in order. So shout out to Grover for winning his outstanding alum, Grover Scanlon. So we've got quite a tradition of folks who've done some very distinguishing things in our community, and probably thousands and thousands of stories about folks whose lives were launched here. So we're hoping to celebrate that in our last year.
I appreciate you sharing that. And I have a feeling that there may be a couple alumni working with Wildeck, a longtime manufacturer in Waukesha, and they have a new facility in downtown that everyone's encouraged to check out. You take a look inside, discover the mezzanine products that are proudly crafted right there in downtown Waukesha. So be sure to check them out. And it's Wildeck, WILDECK, if you want to look them up online. But I got to tour one of their original facilities off of 164, and it's Waukesha has a great manufacturing tradition here, and I'm sure UWM-Waukesha has contributed great employees in that effort, in addition to the arts and all these other segments that Ron's mentioned. And so much more. The conversation continues as we get ready for Corby's Last Roar at UWM-Waukesha in May of 2025. Here on This Week in Waukesha, 540 AM, and the Civic Media app. Do not go away. Can win somehow. Hey, we're back in This Week in Waukesha. For regular listeners, you've heard this one before from one of my favorite artists, Little Steven, who for many of you pop culture fans was Silvio on the Consigliere, if you will, or the Capo Regime on The Sopranos. But was a great musical artist, and great documentary about him, I believe, on HBO called Disciple. I encourage everyone to check that out. He's not only was the lead guitarist for Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band, but wrote a lot of great music for The Boss and for bands like Southside Johnny, and even performed way back with Dion and the Belmonts, and that's where his other nickname, Miami Steve, came from. But my guest, I know we have a caller, Triple G's on, so hang on one second, Greg. But my guest, Ron Gulotta, interim dean, UWM-Waukesha, and his team, if you will, Margaret Millspaw and Ann Mitchell Moore, love saying that name, are here to promote Corby's last roar, on May 22nd, Thursday, May 22nd, 2025, to celebrate the school's 58-year legacy before they close. And Ron, I'm going to put a pin in I'm going to feed this question, then it'll give you a chance to think about it, and we'll take Greg's call. But as I know from Ron, from us being neighbors and also being part of a common faith community, that Ron has a lovely singing voice. He's quite the crooner. And maybe, does he have something planned musically as part of the soiree, a possible performance? But we'll kind of, give you a chance to feed on that while we, Greg, are you there? Triple G? Talk to me, Goose.
Yes. Hey.
Good morning,
John,
Greg.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
And guess.
And
Good.
guess.
Hey, I just wanted to say that that I have fond memories of spending time in the UW-Waukesha Student Union, and your guests probably are familiar with the radio tradition that UW-Waukesha had, home, of course, of WYRE. And it's through being involved with WYRE, my DJ name was DJ Blind Faith. Now, I was not a student at UW-Waukesha at the time, but this predated my Carroll radio involvement. But it was a fun time because WYRE was a cable radio station. Maybe your guests have more insight onto what that was, because it's been described to me, but I don't really understand it too much. But I just wanted to say I will miss that student union, that campus center. I don't know if you all still call it the hub, but I will miss that at UW-Waukesha.
Yes.
I'll miss the hub and all the different activities, and I got to know at that time the members of the activities coordination team and ACT, and I'm not sure what they're called now, but UW-Waukesha will hold great memories for me, as it's where I got my start kind of in radio at UW-Waukesha, and through Carroll's radio station, of course, which is also now gone. So I just wanted to say that and get some comments from your guests on the radio station and the hub. And the hub probably looks different now than it did a few years back. But yeah, so
Sounds great. Thanks so much for the call, Greg, and for sharing. Go ahead, Ron and team.
Oh, the hub is still the heartbeat of our campus, our central area, where lots of activities for student activities occur. And the ACT team is still in existence. They still organize many campus events. The ACT team has been instrumental in doing a number of holiday-themed types of activities. But the most recent thing they've done on campus is to open a thrift store for students. Everything is for free. So the students bring in items.
Wow.
We've got some old costume items. We've got some donations of books that faculty give, and students can peruse our thrift store and take things home and repurpose them, give them new life again. So
my son was president of ACT when he was here for his 2 years, and he said that he was super impressed with how well the students and administrators came together to create that kind of campus community feeling. He said some of his friends that went on to 4-year schools were kind of teasing him that he was, kind of still in high school and you come and you go. And he said, but it didn't really feel like that to him. It felt like he really was part of a community. They had things after hours, different events that they coordinated, and he made a lot of really good friends, and he was really impressed with what they were able to do. So overall, it was a great experience for him. And then he transferred down to UWM to finish up. But, he really missed that camaraderie that was here.
Yeah, it's the hub, and they were after hours, but for the time that I was here, there was a ton of things that happened over the noon hour, and we on the campus, there were fewer classes at that noon hour, and it really gave students that time to bring together community, and so that's when the biggest activities. We did have some evening things going on, but there were many things that happened over that noon hour, and with everything, most people out of class, it really lent the opportunity for everyone to participate and experience it. So that was always kind of a neat thing, that noon hour. So
neat. Any other kind of campus spots or that were also kind of centers or unique areas for inspiration or fun? I guess as an example, when I had Joe Hoffman on the phone or on the show a while back, actually he's been on twice, former assistant fire chief, now the fire chief down in nearby Mount Pleasant, not far from the Radio Park Studios here. And he went to college at Eastern Kentucky, which has a statue of Daniel Boone. And during finals week, the students would go and rub Daniel Boone's foot for luck before taking their exams. And so, were there any cool spots or traditions at UWM-Waukesha that are worth remembering or shouting out?
Okay, so this is Margaret. The one that comes to mind for me is the bridge.
Oh, sure.
So we have a space that's been outside between the library and then really almost close to the hub. Anyway, so it's an outsourced space, and typically you wouldn't promote smoking. However, there were in the 2000s, there when I was here as a student, 2000 to 04, there were a number of folks that both faculty and staff and students, and you would see like faculty and staff maybe out there taking a little smoke break, and students that was a common place for people to kind of chat with one another. You always saw conversations going on, and generally it wasn't faculty and staff to each other. It was really students involved in that as well. And again, not to promote that smoking is good, but it really did. That space led to I think some great conversations.
Okay.
Given the climate, obviously, of Wisconsin, outdoor space was not frequently used, but we do have a quad space outside of the hub that we use very extensively at the beginning and the end of the year. So we have a fall fest welcome in the second week of each new semester, or each new year, and then we have a spring fling to kind of finish up the year in May, early May, and those are outdoor activities where we bring in
music,
well, we have a stage for music and entertainment. We bring in dunk tanks and giant Jenga board and other kinds of activities for students to engage in, and just tables for students to gather around and meet up with and get organized around. One of the other things that we do as part of that is an organizational fair where students can learn about all the different campus clubs that we have. We have a very rich tradition of campus-based clubs that help to get students involved and engaged on campus.
Nice.
Way back in the day in the hub, they would be playing hot card games. Sheepshead was
Yeah.
huge.
Sheepshead, yeah.
Huge.
Yes. We've had, over the years in different spots on campus, certainly for the last couple of decades, groups of students that will gather and bring video games to share and play together. So there's quite a lot of that activity over the years.
Now, I heard Sheepshead, and I was reminded of a former coworker who didn't have the best college career. And I remember talking to a friend, "Oh, yeah, what did he major in?" He said, and the friend said, "I majored in Sheepshead."
Yeah.
So, oh, that's all great. And you met the campus is on a hill, you said, right? On University Avenue, 1500. Yeah. So I'm trying to envision that. Because it's been a while since I've been out that way.
So, location-wise, we're probably one of the best-kept secrets in Waukesha. People always get amazed. Oh, you're here? That's where you are? Obviously, we are on University Drive. We are just north of North High School. So people know where North High School is in Waukesha. We are just north of that.
Yeah.
So you would look up the hill from the fields at North High School and you see our campus.
I was going to poke fun at our caller, Greg Triple G Wansnyder, because he went to Waukesha North and a proud North alumnus, and he mentioned that he didn't go to UWM-Waukesha, and I was going to say that that as a rule, UWM-Waukesha didn't accept Waukesha North graduates, but I know that's not true, right?
No, that's not true. Not at all.
Is it fair to say, though, that you would get a fair amount of graduates from North, South, and West, or CMH, or any of these, like after, or do you draw maybe from further out in Waukesha County? Or
Well, we do draw principally from Waukesha, but we are a very metropolitan campus. We draw students from Jefferson County, from Washington County, and from parts of Milwaukee County. We've had students from Franklin and Oak Creek, from the city of Milwaukee, as well as from closer suburbs, Wauwatosa and West Allis.
Sure. And would you say, were there specific programs that would draw some of these young men and women from further out?
Waukesha has not been a specific program institution. We've been a general education institution. Okay. And one of the phrases we used for quite a while to promote ourselves is the best place for the start, or the best start for the life you want.
Yeah.
The best start for the life you want.
And maybe that's the advantage, was that flexibility that Ann had commented on earlier. I believe it was Ann or Margaret. Yeah.
Exactly.
But
when I think of some of the friends that I went to school with, like one of them turned into an engineer, one was an actuarial math major, another was a biology teacher. I taught communication, another one's computer science. I mean, the flexibility was amazing in terms of what you could do.
You'll all appreciate this text from Greg Wansnyder, our previous caller. Triple G says, a lot of people have nicknames for UW-Waukesha over the years, and one of them was Harvard on the Hill. Had you heard that one before?
Yep.
Yes, I've also heard the high school on the hill.
Yeah.
So
Sure. But that's a nice accolade. So before we go, to our next break, we've been getting a lot of questions about proper disposal and recycling. In case you didn't know, the city has a disposal guide on their website. Go to waukesha-wi.gov/residence/collections/disposal-guide.php. And I can repeat that on the other side of the break. And so much more as we wrap things up with Ron Gulotta and team on UW-Waukesha and Corby's Last Roar, May 2025.
Somehow I find myself far out of line from the ones I draw. Wasn't the best of paths, you could attest to that, but I'm keeping on. Would I fast cross if every great loss had turned out our gains? Would I fast cross if the pain it had cost us was paid in vain? There was no
We're back on This Week in Waukesha. And that is Thanksgiving by one of my favorite bands, Poi Dog Pondering. And yes, Thanksgiving is upon us. And quick question from my guest, Ron Gulotta, Interim Dean at UWM at Waukesha, and Margaret Millspaw and Ann Mitchell-Moore. Any big plans for this Thanksgiving, especially this this Thanksgiving before you close the school?
No, not particularly on my end. I'm a little more busy and invested in the operations of the campus, so I don't have quite as much time as I used to have as a faculty member for that. But nothing particular on my end.
Mine will be pretty quiet. I have two daughters. One of them actually attended UW-Waukesha as well. They're busy with their other sides of the family this year, so we did ours a little bit early. So ours will be quiet, which is okay with me.
I'm hosting, but it's small, like 12 or 14 people. So.
Nice.
Small.
That's great. And real quick, what are you probably most thankful for about your experience, your affiliation with UWM at Waukesha?
That's kind of easy for me. My first academic stint as a professor was at a four-year institution in Kentucky. And that was a good experience, but coming here, I had the opportunity to have as office neighbors and tons of chats and tons of discussions with colleagues of other disciplines. Whereas in a four-year institution, you get locked in with people in your area and you have very little contact with anyone outside. I remember at Murray State University, one year I was in charge of the college's lecture series. And one of the people I brought in, the dean said he wanted to focus on issues of the family. So I brought in an expert on the family. And after she gave her talk on the family, was chatting with some of the historians one day, going up in the elevator. And they were just so amazed that this historian who gave a great history lesson on the family talked so much about sociology and community. And they were just thrown off by that fact that things cross discipline lines. Whereas my years here in the colleges have been very immersed in that interdisciplinary approach. Chat with political scientists, philosophers, historians, biologists, and we share around a common topic, and that enriches our experiences, which also enriches the education of our students.
Excellent point. And Ron, what did you teach when you were a member of the faculty?
So I'm a sociologist.
Okay. Fantastic.
So I taught sociology and criminal justice courses.
Sounds great. Okay. And I know because we're short on time, let's go to Ann and Margaret. What are you most thankful about?
I think for me, on two levels, personally, I'm thankful for my friends. My core group of friends all started here, and we all came together. And in fact, we were all together. There was like 12 of us on last Saturday night, and we were kind of thinking about that. This would not have happened if UW-Waukesha did not exist. From a professional standpoint, I'm really grateful for the students. I've taught public speaking for 25 years, and I love it when my students are giving a speech and they give me some information where I think, I never thought about it that way before. And I challenge them to challenge our ways of thinking, because we all have these schemas that we like to hang on to. And that different perspective and making me look at things from more than one perspective has been a gift, because it has broadened my empathy. It has broadened my view of the world, and I'm going to really miss that.
Sounds great. And that was Ann, right?
Yep. Sorry.
Okay. All right, Margaret. You got a minute here, and we have a couple minutes left on the show.
Sure. So I would say that's all right. I would say to just to kind of further, Ron mentioned opportunity, and I would say that's what I think I'm most thankful for about my time here. I have had the opportunity to to explore and to meet folks and really get into different things. I would have never been in the space I am if it wasn't for UW-Waukesha. I learned to play golf with colleagues here. I served on the foundation board here, and I'm able to then support other students. Help financially support students to continue on. And I've seen my own children grow from here. So really just the opportunities that were here and that continue to be here. And I hope they continue in this community in a different way. The UW-Waukesha Foundation will be supporting, continuing the support in the area.
Oh, great.
Even though
Good to hear. Okay. So Margaret Millspaw and Mitchell Moore, Ron Gulotta, the interim dean, thanks so much for joining us today, for getting up early in the morning. I want to continue this conversation on future shows. I don't expect you to get up and go to the campus there like you have, but maybe by calling in, getting some updates. We didn't even get a chance to talk about the history of the Madrigal dinner, and that could be a whole show, I think, if we can recruit some alumni that were part of that. That'd be a lot of fun, as well as more planning and more opportunities for Corby's Last Roar, Thursday, May 22nd, 2025, celebrating 58 years at UWM Waukesha. James Santel is next with Amicus, a law review. And then next week, it'll be Small Business Saturday. And if my remote kit's working, we're hoping to be at Sweet Dreams in downtown Waukesha and celebrating the great opportunities that small business can provide this holiday season, great gift ideas, and so much more for our community. I want to thank our guests again, especially Ron for putting this together, Ron Gulotta, interim dean at UWM at Waukesha. And again, I invite participation on future shows, and it will make it easier. Make sure everyone's got the Civic Media app. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Please remember safety is everyone's responsibility, and so is good mental health, especially in this holiday season. And if you have more memories on UWM Waukesha, I want to hear those on future shows. And so much more. I want to thank Max for all the good work he's doing. And again, thanking everybody. Go Ramila Mahagav Galer. Have a happy Thanksgiving and see ya!
Thanksgiving for every wrong move. Made it right. That made it right.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.